Broadcasting live worldwide. Welcome.
Are you ready? Welcome. Señoras y señores, welcome
a Diálogo con Luis Otero. So welcome to a new episode of Dialogo with Luis Otero. This is your host, Luis Otero. Thank you so much to all the thousands and thousands of people that they listen to us worldwide. In every single episode, we want to appreciate and say thank you so much for all of you for always taking the time to listen to all our amazing guests and great actors, actresses, singers, athletes that we have in the show. Again, say thank yous. You know, last week we were trending and we were charting top 30 in Paraguay and Chile, top 60, and we're growing fast in many other countries. So I want to say thank you so much for taking the time. Please follow us in social media, Instagram at Luis Otero, D Luis Otero. We're over 97,000 following, and Dialogo con Otero on Instagram as well, dialogoconotero.com, and over 27 platforms worldwide, iHeartRadio, all the Alexa's devices. Go to Apple Podcasts and just write a review, and all the platforms. You know, you can listen to us in every single platform on the world. And I have a very special guest with me. I'm very excited of this episode. I'm very excited of all the episodes that we have, but it's a really, truly exciting episode that I have. I have today with me an amazing actress that is making waves in Hollywood, and I have seen her growing very fast, and I'm extremely happy to see that. New faces in Hollywood for me is like refreshing. Plus, she's a tremendous actress with great track record. She have been in tremendous projects like Juicy Stories, Gully, Euphoria. That is a tremendous TV series that I watch. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Trevor and the Virgin 2. That it was a great TV short that I watch. She has been in many other great projects, and she is in the new movie Dreamcatcher. That is extremely, I'm very extremely excited for this movie because I had in the show Crystal Veda, who's producer, and we gonna have in the show another tremendous members of this cast. And I have with me today the amazing Elizabeth Posey. Welcome to Dialogo with Luis Otero. How's everything?
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be talking with you today and to talk about Dreamcatcher and to get caught up. I'm super excited to be on this show. I'm glad to hear that it's been doing so well. How long have you been running the show?
It's crazy. We've been doing the show for over 2 years. So we started in 2019. Oh. And what is crazy is that sometimes when you launch a podcast, I started pre-pandemic. So a lot of people, they were like, not that excited or thrilled when I was doing, interviews like remotely. And when, unfortunately, the pandemic that we're all living hit, everyone was like very excited to to do the show.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, certain things about the pandemic obviously were hard and were brutal, but certain industries were able to kind of turn it over and make it their own. And I'm sure it's grown a lot since then. And it's probably been pretty good for you on your side, huh? Good for business?
Yeah, it's good for business, but pretty happy because I'm able to give a platform finally with a lot of, with thousands of people that they listen to, like faces like yourself that, are working very hard to make it happen, to grow, to demonstrate to the world that there's no obstacles in life, that all those obstacles are tests just to be successful and to fulfill your life with happiness and great positive things. So it's been great for the podcast, and it's been great for you because it's super cool. You have stayed very, very busy. You're busy. So how you been doing?
Yeah. Well, I've been great. I've been lucky enough to actually be able to work on a couple of projects during the pandemic, which, I just got so very lucky. I worked on a show recently called Heels, awesome. Which will be on Stars, and it's coming out in August. And so I was able to film that in November, January, February. And then, of course, it was great. We've been waiting so long for Dreamcatcher to come out. So it was kind of an ideal time when it came out in the middle of this pandemic and kind of gave us this confidence boost of this project that we've been dreaming about coming out for so long. And, it was because a lot of us haven't been working, or a lot of us have been stagnant because of the pandemic. It felt great to see our fruits finally come to fruition in such a difficult time. So yeah, it's been great. Got to work on a couple of projects, hopefully get to work on some more, especially now that Dreamcatcher is coming out and people are seeing it and liking it. And hopefully big things yet to come.
No, it's a really awesome movie. I like Dreamcatcher. You work with a tremendous cast and a great director. That is Jacob Johnston. It's just one of those stories that I always look at. I'm like, this guy left everything that it was good, like all the Marvel saga, just to fulfill his dreams. Something like yourself too, because Elizabeth is really awesome. How your life have, your journey have been, because Dreamcatcher is such an amazing movie, but it comes from passion, and it's the same thing as your life, because you were born in Shrewsbury, New Jersey. A lot of people are not aware of like where Shrewsbury is. It's just close to Asbury Park in the coast of New Jersey. Very little small town with 3,000 plus people, and you were born there in that beautiful, cute town, and then you moved to Jacksonville, Florida. That is in the upper part of like northeast part of like Florida. And, right. I would love to know, because of your beginnings and where you are now, how was that childhood? What really inspired you? Why you decide to become an actress? And how really you find that passion for what you do? Because what is beautiful is that in your role in Dreamcatcher and all the roles that I have seen where you have performed, you really can bring that energy, outside of the screen to who we're watching, or, the audience, But when that passion and that love for, the arts started in your life?
Born in New Jersey, lived there when I was a young baby, and then grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. And of course, there's not a big television world in Jacksonville, Florida, but I was working in theater since I started out in singing first. I started taking singing lessons, and from there kind of started getting involved in theatrics and stage performance. And I've loved it ever since I was a kid. Ever since I could remember, I was dreaming about moving to Los Angeles and becoming an actress and working on television and film. But that didn't really come to fruition until I was about 22, when I graduated from college and moved out to Los Angeles. It had always been something I've been involved in. It had always been my dream. I studied it throughout high school and college. And then finally, once I had begged my parents growing up. I was like, please let me move out to LA. Let me try and pursue this dream. And they always said, go to college, get a degree, get a strong head on your shoulders. And when you're an adult and you feel ready, go out there and pursue that dream. And I'm really glad that I had that influence, because I did get to live a life where I got to go to school and I got to get a degree and I got to have that normalcy and to have a normal upbringing. And then I also got to follow my dream as an adult. So I really got to live in the best of both worlds. And I'm happy I did it that way.
No, it's super cool, because you went to University of Florida. Go Gators. Yes. You went to Gainesville, Florida. Very beautiful town as well, too. Great college. And you decide to go for public relations and theater. That they really are extremely helpful for what you're currently working in the industry. Plus,
Absolutely.
having those great tools that maybe a lot of people, they go for communications, but they don't have that specific skill. So why you chose, public relations and theater? Because I know theater is just one of those great ways to get a reaction immediately from the audience, but you really have to be very disciplined, because you have to bring a performance. And that's a great foundation for you to what you would have become, a tremendous actress and growing tremendously in the industry. But why public relations and theater when you went to, University of Florida?
PR was, I guess, a choice. So, to be completely honest with you, I would have loved to have just not gone to college and moved out to LA and tried to be an actress. But there was always this, fallback plan. You know what I mean? Sure. It's terrifying to decide to move to Los Angeles and to not have any backup plan. And so I guess the choice was, hey, I'm good with people. I'm good at writing. PR and journalism is going to be a good route for me. And it's also something that I've been able to use since I've been in Los Angeles, different jobs that I've been able to pick up, because I wasn't always a working actress. I was always having to do a million different kinds of jobs.
Sure.
And so it was kind of, hey, I got a backup plan. Hey, it's going to serve me well if I am an actress. If I'm not an actress, it's going to be something that I have in my back pocket. And it is something that I've been able to use throughout my career, and also picking up a million different jobs that actresses and actors have to do when you first move to LA, because God knows you're not successful right away.
Sure.
So you got to be a jack of all trades.
Of course. And it's cool because you always have to keep your north pretty clear. And that really is, I respect that a lot, because a lot of people tend to have that struggle. What I'm going to do with my life. And
oh my God, I still every day.
Yes.
Today.
Yes.
I woke up and I'm like, what the hell am I doing today?
Yeah. And it's crazy because sometimes we want to plan our life and we don't, okay, where we're heading. And sometimes we wake up not knowing what we're going to do. And in your line of work, and just being an actress and growing, in Hollywood, and, now, and when you have established and you're starting to get tremendous roles and you're demonstrating to the world who Elizabeth Posey is, I know that it have to be sometimes challenging when you went from that structure of college and then you finish a project like Dreamcatcher, and then you're in your other project next. You're already studying that script and looking for those next upcoming projects. It was difficult for you when you decide, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be leaving to LA. I don't know what is the plan, but I'm going to make it, because you maybe already had that plan and vision in your head. How was that transition?
I had been saying that to my mom and dad since I could speak. So it wasn't really a surprise, I think, that was what I was going to do. It was always the plan.
Sure.
It was basically kind of a give and take with us. It was like, hey, if you go to college and you get a degree and you do what we want you to do for a couple of years, then you can go do whatever the hell you want after that. So that was kind of the agreement. And like the second I graduated, 2 months later, I was on a flight moving to Los Angeles. So it was kind of always understood that this is what was going to happen next. It was like, all right, I'll do what you guys want me to do for the next 4 years. And then I'm going to move out to Los Angeles and do what I'm going to do. So they've been incredibly supportive the entire way. It's not like they really knew anything about the world of entertainment, but they've always supported it blindly, just had my back. And I guess it's probably because I've been drilling it in their head since I was a kid. You guys don't really have a choice. This is a cafe.
Sure.
Yeah, I've had a lot of familial support along the way, which not everybody out here can say, because it's a tough career, and a lot of families aren't very supportive of that because they know that it's such a struggle. It's not a guarantee. You're not going to be guaranteed to come out here and be successful. And a lot of families kind of will try to deter people from making that choice. And mine never did. So I'm very lucky to have had that support and still do.
No, that's awesome. And it's great to have them, because if your close family is your support system. When they support you, things they just move more smoothly. And if they embrace the struggle of just like, hey, let me set a foundation here. Let me struggle for a little bit to understand the dynamics of the business. Because what we see on the front of the screen, and I say always this to all the audience and everyone that, when I'm having conversations with them, it's like, it is difficult to get your ground, understand, okay, what will be the agent that will represent me? Who will be able to partner with me and help me envision what I have in my mind to be able to land those roles that will help me grow and help me become the best version of what is Elizabeth Posey, or what actor or actress or performance artist is, So the question was, how they embrace that struggle, and they embrace it from the beginning. So it's the best thing ever, for you. Yeah. When you landed in LA, what was those first days like? Do you knew who you were going to contact? Because sometimes you land in the city and I'm like, okay, I'm in LA. Where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to William Morris. I'm going to go to United Talent. I'm going to go to any of these agencies and see if they're going to help me at least get my foot in the door? Or it was tough for you those first few months, out of your environment?
Oh, I had no clue. I mean, my dad flew with me over here, kind of dropped me off, I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 guys sleeping on an air mattress. So that was like my living situation, which was, it builds character. Honestly, I couldn't do that now. But when I think back on it, it's just the adventures and the journeys that I've had since I've gotten here. But
sure.
I remember my dad left and I was just standing there like, all right, what now? And that night I remember I walked over to the Grove and I sat at a bar by myself, just trying to meet people. I didn't know anybody. Wow. So I guess it was kind of exciting in a way because I am somebody that loves the unknown a little bit, especially when I was first coming here. It was exciting and terrifying and wonderful. And I spent a lot of time trying to get an agent, trying to get a manager. That didn't come for 2 years.
Wow.
It wasn't right away. Yeah. And so, I came here wanting to be an actress, but then I got a job in PR because I needed to make money.
Sure.
And, then I started taking acting classes and you do showcases and people show interest in you. So it's not like you landed here and you go knock on WMU's door and say, hey, I've arrived, what project do you have for me? I didn't start auditioning for 2 years. So yeah, it's a brutal industry. It is not easy to break into. So you got to hit the pavement. You got to find the balance of, hey, I got to get a job that's going to pay the bills, but I also have to basically take on a whole separate job that's not paying me, trying to figure out how to get people interested in me. So yeah, it's not like you show up in LA and some agent sees you in a bar and is like, hey, do you want to be a star, and signs you. It's just not like that. Maybe it was 50 years ago. But it's a difficult world and you really have to be your own advocate, and it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
No, definitely. Elizabeth, how in those 2 years, because in those 2 years is for a lot of people, it's a long time. It is a long time. It was maybe an eternity for you, but you got to keep a level of mental strength to not think about just, bailing out of that dream or that mission that you had to accomplish and become a well-known, very, strong, awesome, actress, and be able to just create a career. How do you keep those 2 years, that mental strength that in that process you learn maybe a lot of things about yourself, but how you were able to keep that strength and say, let me not give up. Let me just make it, like how I'm going to do this, how it's going to be next month. Let me plan it out. How do you keep that strength that have taken you from those 2 maybe tough years to enjoy now the fruition of that mental strength and that mentality?
Listen, man, it's a day-to-day struggle. It's still a struggle. I mean, I'm still, hey, I'm waiting for the next project right now, and that'll come. But peaks and valleys are very high highs and very low lows. And I won't say that I kept the mental strength the entire time, because I definitely didn't. I mean, I went through periods where I was like, I'm quitting, I'm done. And then I would fall back into it, or a project would come along, something that would excite me, something that would renew that passion. I would just say, surround yourself with people that are supportive. Allow yourself to maybe take breaks. You got to hit the ground running, you got to hit the pavement, but there are times where it's okay to feel a little hopeless and embrace that hopelessness and try to turn it into strength somehow. So I won't even say, oh yeah, every day I was strong and I believed that something was going to happen. That's not true. And I think it's important for young actors to know that it's okay to struggle and to feel hopeless and why am I out here? Why am I doing this? There's not a single actor out there that hasn't had that feeling before. So as long as you continue to persevere, it's okay to have those lows and it's okay to have those highs and everything in between. I still do that now. It never gets any easier putting yourself on the line and waiting for the next project and not knowing when the next thing's going to come, even when you do start to see some success. So all those actors out there, stay strong, keep persevering.
Yes, no, it's the way to go.
And cry into your pillow at night if you have to. It's fine. You'll be back. The next day you'll get back up and you'll keep going. So
no, it's awesome way to put it. Elizabeth, in those days that you maybe were down, and those days that you were, maybe struggling, what really was that thing that you did that lift your spirits up and gave you hope that consistency that you were creating, because that creates discipline. It's a discipline that you need to create to just keep your mind in check and be able to, okay, this is temporary. It's going to come, but I can endure that battle in order for me to accomplish what I want. It was something that you did those days that you said, hey, I went to the park, I stayed doing exercise, or it was something that you were doing that really kept you, okay, I'm down today, but I'm very positive at some point of that day, right? Because that's the roller coaster of every single day. How do you keep that optimism that really landed you your first credit roll with Juicy Stories? Because I know that you did All I Wish, that it wasn't credited in 2017, but it's still credited. Right. I always look at, but
you see a sliver of my face in that role.
Yeah, but Juicy Stories maybe was a project that really got fire inside of your heart and belly just to say, now, okay, I'm not gonna stop now. How was those days?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was right after I had signed with my manager, who really, she was somebody who lit a fire underneath me, because I had representation previously that I just don't know if they really believed in me or had the same idea of what my goals were. And it just wasn't a match. And that's okay. A lot of times it's just not. And I signed with my manager, who is still my manager to this day, Sherry Kane. She's fabulous.
Sherry Kane, wow, yeah, sure. I have heard from her tremendous things, yeah.
She's fantastic. And I booked that role with her almost like a week into signing with her.
Wow.
And it was just it just felt like finally everything was falling into place. And it was a really exciting role. I got to work with Michael Patrick King, who did Sex and the City, an incredible director. And it was just, a quick couple days shoot for me. I got to play young Melanie Griffith, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with.
Of
Melanie
course,
Griffith.
Definitely. I'm very familiar with her. She's a legend,
Well, of course, I know. You never know, though.
Yeah, but it's crazy. A lot of people don't know about her. That is the most crazy thing. Like, just for people, just to get them familiar, Melanie Griffith is just like an icon. She really did a lot of mainstream movies and amazing movies in the 70s, 80s, and she did a lot of thrillers. That is crazy because you're in a thriller land with Dreamcatcher, but go on, because really this story was exciting.
Well, it was like, so I got to set and I'm playing Melanie Griffith, which was exciting because she's such an icon. And then, the director walked in, who's Michael Patrick King. He directed Sex and the City. He's worked with Sarah Jessica Parker and all the moving parts. This is really the first time I had ever been on a set like that in my life. And
wild.
It was just, I was taking it all in, and then I did my scene, and Michael Patrick King walked up to me and he was like, "Who are you? You're fabulous." And I was just melting internally because this is what I had been dreaming about my entire life. And it's just happening right now in this moment. And I remember walking away from that day and just thinking, okay, I have to keep doing this because that was the best day of my life. Every moment I just soaked it in. And every time I'm on set now still feels the exact same way. I hope that never goes away. I'll be sad if it does, because literally anytime I get to work on a project, it feels the exact same way I felt that day. And I think that's why I've still been hungry for it and still kept pursuing it, is chasing that feeling has been vital. And that was that day when I worked on Juicy Stories was the very first time that feeling happened for me. And it was everything I dreamed of. So
that's really cool.
I think
that's awesome.
Yeah. When people finally get to work on that project and they finally get to see how it feels, that's what drives people to keep going through this brutal industry. That's for at least for me, that's been the driving force that's kept me going, is that feeling.
It's incredible how important is surrounding yourself with people that believe in you, because you were represented before Cherry, that is your manager and person that has been there since day one. That is beautiful to see that, because when you make that decision of say, okay, I don't think that they're representing me correctly of who I am or what I want to accomplish, and you meet Cherry and she's able to see what the world is seeing, what I'm seeing, and everyone listening is seeing. It's really cool because you get that role a week in, working with her, and that have to be a reaffirmation. Is that okay? It's reaffirming that I'm good, but not only that I really have a good person next to me,
right,
helping me, supporting me, and allowing me to just understand how this industry works. But not only that, in the process of that first project, that is Juicy Stories, gives you that strength and that mentality is that I already have a taste of what I really want to do. And being able to work with such a great cast and a great set, give you that confidence to say, like, nobody's going to stop me and I'm going to accomplish this. Doesn't matter what I need to do. Yeah. After that project, how you decided to take on the other roles? Do you create it in a specific kind of like format, in the way that when you get a script, you read it? How do you choose those roles, Elizabeth, that will represent you and will speak to you artistically, in that you say, okay, I like this role, I want to challenge myself and portray this? Because after that, you did 2 tremendous shorts. That was Godspeed, and then you had Trevor and the Virgin. Then, because 2018 and 2019 were very busy years for you, but and you are more busy now than before. So you already are getting some pace. Then you did Gully. Then you did Euphoria. That is a TV series that I watch. Then you did Trevor and the Virgin 2, and then you do Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So when you start to take on these roles, what you were looking on those roles that was speaking to you in order for you to say, I'm doing this, and I'm going to participate in these amazing projects that they're landing and they're looking for, and Elizabeth Posey to be added to the equation?
Well, to be totally honest with you, not every project you do is because you're, just so beyond thrilled about it. It's like taking any job. And listen, every project that I've worked on, I've enjoyed tremendously. But in the beginning, when you're first trying to put yourself out there, you're pretty much trying to take on any project that you can. So you're auditioning for roles that you're excited about, roles you're mildly excited about, small roles, big roles. Every once in a while, something lands in your lap that you're really thrilled about, that you really feel passionately about. And also, I will say that, again, with Sherry, my manager, and now my new agent, Pantheon, Nick Roses, he's fantastic as well. They all have an idea of the direction that I'm trying to take my career. So yes, of course, there's roles that I'll audition for that are more typical of what a person like me would audition for, but they also know that I want to go down a comedic route. So they push that for me because they believe in that for me. And so you kind of create that framework with your agents and your managers, and you tell them, hey, this is what I want to do. I'll do this too, audition me for whatever. I'm prepared to go down any road with you, but this is also where I see my career. And as you continue to book roles and as you continue to grow in the industry, you have more of a luxury of picking the roles that you want to be a part of, versus kind of having to do it to make money or to get credits, to build your resume. I've loved every role I've been a part of, but some of them I've been more passionately involved in than others. And that's the exciting thing about when you grow your career, you do get to make those choices. Where in the beginning, you kind of just like, hey, give me anything, please. I'll do whatever you want. It's exciting to watch that transformation happen when you get to start making those choices for yourself versus the beginning where you're just kind of begging for a job. And I feel like I've finally started to kind of go down that road and get auditions that I feel really passionately about. So that's great. That's an exciting turn that started to happen in my life.
No, that's really cool. And the roles that you've been playing, you know, they're tremendous. But one of the things that I was going to ask in regards of the roles is like, do any of those roles in those, you know, in the years in 2019, 2018, 21, you know, now with Dreamcatcher, it was recorded previously, but do there's any of these roles that you went in, and I'm not saying Dreamcatcher from the beginning, I was like describing like this is exciting, like this is just really awesome. But in the roles previously than Dreamcatcher, that by the way, I suggest everyone to go and watch Dreamcatcher. It's already in video on demand. It's super awesome. Central South America guys, you're gonna see this movie and it's gonna be wild. Elizabeth and a great cast with Lou Ferrigno Jr. and Zachary Gordon. It's just really awesome. Yeah, you might think that you know that what's gonna happen, but you're never gonna know what's gonna happen. That's what I'm gonna say. And Elizabeth, you have a tremendous role as Ivy, but in the movie, that is really awesome. You did it spectacular. But in those roles previously than Dreamcatcher, is any of those roles you were like, I'm gonna take it, and then in the process you enjoy them? Like you said, oh my God, I never thought that this role. Yeah, do they happen to you?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I get pigeonholed a lot as I'll get hired to play sort of like a dumb, mean, popular girl. That seems to be like a role.
That's typecasting. They're typecasting you.
Out there.
Sure.
And that's fine. And I've been fine with doing that. But like a lot of times I'd be like, oh, again, I'm going to be doing this again. But then, you know, when you get on set and you get into the groove of things, those have been some of the most fun roles that I've played. So yeah, you know, there have been moments where I thought, ugh, I want to be more than this. I want to be seen as more than this. And, you know, as actors, as artists, we all want to be seen and taken seriously. And we want to be seen as something more than ... But yeah, absolutely. I've been hired to play some, you know, mean popular girl roles that maybe initially I wasn't as thrilled about, but then ended up having a blast. So I don't know if I've ever not enjoyed myself on set, to be honest with you. I'm just beyond thrilled to be there every time that I am. So it's hard to say that I've ever had a day on set where I didn't want to be there.
No, it'd have to be very fun because what is crazy is that your work setup, like people, they have routines, they go 9 to 5, that have to be crazy, and many other things, you know. But when you go to a set, it's like different crew, different director, different producer. So it has to be very fun to work with all these kind of like great mentalities and great people and writers and this huge set, because Dreamcatcher have to be a very huge set. And then compared to your short set, maybe there's not a big set. Adapting to those big sets, when you went to Dreamcatcher, do it gets a little bit overwhelming for you, or you feel that you're in your space, natural, enjoying yourself big time? Because when you have so many moving parts, it's like, I'm here, this is my role, this is the scene, but you have like 150 people in an electronic, you know, DJ, you know, electronic music EDM, you know, party, and you're like, there's so many moving parts around. Do you feel comfortable in that space sometimes, or sometimes you get like, wow, like, you know, you have to just maybe act natural, that is like normal when you're going to maybe Electric Daisy or any of these music amazing festivals, but it have to be sometimes, I say, like, it gotta be crazy because you're here, you're walking, you're in dialogue, and then you have a bunch of people around you that are extras and they have their own thing that they gotta do. And maybe for you, you know, have to be like, oh my God, this is crazy compared to where I came from. That maybe I'm like two people on the scene, you know?
I gotta say, the majority of the time, I feel very much in my element. I don't know what it is. There's just something about performing and being a part of the whole process that really excites me, but it can be exhausting. I mean, days can be 16-hour long days and you're doing the same scene for like 16 hours. So it can be exhausting. It's not all very glamorous. A lot of people poking and prodding you. I love it though. I mean, it's exhausting, but it's where I'm most happy. So I don't know. It's obviously been an adjustment, and every set is different. I just got off a set with a network with Stars, and that's, you know, major network.
Major.
So that was really incredible experience to work with. You know, when you're working on an indie versus a major network, it's a very different experience. It's a very unique experience, everything that I've worked on. I've loved it all. It's been pretty fabulous.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know.
That's awesome that you're enjoying the process. This is what life is all about, enjoying the process, you know. But it's cool because the independence brings such a great, interesting, unique element, and majors, obviously they're majors. You know that they're going to get broadcasted, you know that you're going to be seen, and that's extremely cool because you want to see yourself growing in those roles and that people watch you. Like an example, you finish a project with stars. It's exciting. We cannot talk about that. We're going to talk about Dreamcatcher, but it's really awesome. Right. So, but it's extremely cool. What do you do for those long days or those weeks that you're like maybe shooting to just wind down and being able to stay, you know, sane, relax, in your best element? Do there's any routine? Do you go to the shopping mall? Do you go like to gyms or to the gym? Do you go and do like kickboxing? Do you any specific ritual that you have when, you know, you're finishing a very long day and you're like, I'm mentally exhausted. I don't want to like talk about the script. I want to just take a margarita or a mojito and just like disconnect. What do you do to disconnect sometimes from that work to keep that balance that you need to be able to be fresh next day?
I would definitely say, you know, as hard of a worker as it might seem that I am, I'm pretty lazy couch potato.
Cool.
I revel in that. I love it. So generally after a long day like that, it's just sweats, blankets, burritoed in a blanket on the couch, maybe with a glass of wine and watching crappy TV. Yeah.
No, it's cool. Sometimes you need to wind down, you know, and then some popcorn, whatever. That's really cool. You know, you want.
I wish I could say I was somebody who would like, you know, go for a run. That's not. It's unfortunately not me.
No, you gotta wind down, and there are ways.
People who say that are liars. I don't believe them.
I said, you go for a run, and then I go, you know, and grab like a very lean meal. That really sounds so great, but I will be like, if I was in your shoes, Elizabeth, and I said, I will be like, you know what? I'm going to take a shower, and I'm gonna really like just go lay back, grab a beer or a very good Cabernet Sauvignon, and I will be sitting down watching Netflix or something.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I don't believe the people who go for runs and eat healthy meals are really having that great of a time. Maybe they are. I'm not buying it.
I love the honesty because I really feel the same. I really feel the same. Elizabeth, in this role with, you know, in Dreamcatcher, when the script arrived to your hands, what do you find of Ivy that really connected with you?
You know, her and her sister's struggle. You know, obviously I don't want to say too much that reveals too much about
the film. Definitely.
People who haven't seen it. I grew up with two older sisters. And you die for them, you know, but you also hate them. You know, and you go through that struggle. And I feel like I was able to kind of relate to that. Hey, this is this person that I die for, but I also am angry with them for different things that have gone on in our past. And I was able to, I think, kind of understand that relationship because I've had that with two very real people in my life. So Nikki Koss, who played Pierce, she and I were able to really connect prior to even shooting, which was great that we got to create that relationship. And so it felt very authentic, and it felt like something that's already pretty close to my heart with growing up with two girls and the struggles that sisters go through. Obviously, Pierce and Ivy had some more severe struggles than something that I've personally experienced, but I know what that's like to have somebody that you love and struggle with so much. I think any girl who's ever grown up in a house full of girls knows how tumultuous it can be. So I think I could relate to the character in that sense very deeply. And I enjoyed creating that relationship with Nikki and bringing my own personal aspects into it as well.
That's really awesome that it connected in that way. Sometimes there are good and bad things that a role can't connect, can't connect with you, because I grew up in a house that it was me and a younger sister. And in my house, it's like my son, Nicholas, of 1 year, and Camila, that is 3. And I see the dynamics, and I understand that sometimes it could be, for me, it was difficult because I saw some things, and maybe I struggled with some things, when I was bullied in school. And then, you have my sister that it wasn't bullied in school. So there's things and many other elements that they are involved in that relationship of brother and sister, or sister and sister, or brother and brother. And when you take on a role like this, that you were able to connect with Nikki, tremendous actress as well, and you guys blended so well in on screen. It's just wonderful what Jacob Johnson and how you guys were able to just bring those roles to life. Do you were able in this role to heal in that process of just portraying Ivy in Dreamcatcher, maybe some of that angriness that you had, or maybe that difficulty that you had in that relationship with your sister? Because I find out sometimes that actresses and actors heal sometimes on those roles emotionally. Do it happen to you in this role?
I'll say, and this is, something that's personal and close to my heart. There's something, and Ivy struggles with body dysmorphia. And that's actually something that I have had personal struggles with as well. So I'd say that that was something that was really interesting to play a character that goes through that. And it's something that up until recently, I'd never really even talked about it with anybody before, but it kind of opened those doors to be able to say, hey, a lot of young women struggle with this silently. And especially in the world that we live in now with Photoshop and people curating these perfect lives on social media. I think a lot of young girls are really struggling with their image. And so I think that was an important part to play with Ivy. And it's something that made me be able to say, hey, I can talk about this out loud and it might help somebody out there. So I hope that character is able to make young girls feel like they're able to be more open about their image issues. And especially in the world we live in now, it's just become very extreme. And I think a lot more people are struggling with it than ever before. So that was probably the biggest healing process that I went to, was able to myself being able to be more open about that, which is great. Feels good to talk about it and have other people hopefully hear it. So
that have to be a very freeing process. Maybe it lift maybe some weight and from your shoulders, and not only that, just feel proud about what you are. And I say this to everyone that they're listening, and thousands that they're listening to us. Feel proud of who you are. You are made in such a unique way that all of us, we have our own DNA and we're unique in our own selves. And it's, I gotta say, I respect you tremendously. And it's, you gotta feel proud about yourself and what you're accomplishing, because opening yourself really can connect with people out there, but you're healing in the process and feeling comfortable more about who you are. And that's extremely, you gotta respect that tremendously, Elizabeth, and I respect that tremendously from you, because it really, brings the best out of you. Not only of, that, hey, we all are unique. We're not perfect. It's the same thing. Like, we're not perfect. And what you said is so important. Social media it's very brutal. That's a very brutal environment. We talk about Hollywood. Yes, but it's brutal what you get in social media and how crazy it can be. And I say to people, it's like, if you come from a place of like, hey, kindness, love, and being able to just understand that there are going to be different views from everyone, and accept each other as who we are, and understand each other and listen. What I say to people is like, we have to listen more, and listening to your story now, it's just extremely powerful, and feel proud about what you are, Elizabeth, because that really makes you, a true, tremendous advocate of just what we need to be advocate for, who we are, and our, good things, bad things, strength, and, that's not going to hold us back. At the end of the day, we're people, and we are doing things that we love. So you got to feel proud about what you are. And I say it publicly because it really sends the message to everyone. It's like, hey, you're not alone. Right.
Yeah. And I think it's so important for young, God, I can't imagine trying to be a 16-year-old in this world right now. So as many people who are out there who can say that they're experiencing the same things that those girls are going through and that it's okay, I think that's really valuable and really important. So if I can use my platform for anything, it can hopefully be for that.
Yeah, and you're motivating people. You're motivating a lot of like young women out there with your roles, and not only that, your role of Ivy is really impactful because it just sends a message. It doesn't matter like the struggle and sometimes what we go through. At the end of the day, it's all about that sisterhood or that love that you have for each other. It can be we can be mad, we can be pissed, and I call these times like they're crazy times because people, they get pissed with politics. We got pissed about this other thing and that and all that stuff. At the end of the day, we're all human and we have more in common than what we think. So it's yes, and it's super awesome to. And I commend you for that, for just, telling your story, and I respect you tremendously. So I want to say that because you're, translating that to your work. So it's really awesome to see that.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope that it comes across, and I hope that people can help heal from watching the movie.
No, sure. With Dreamcatcher.
That's one of the biggest parts about acting that I love is storytelling, real stories, and how people really feel and struggle and all that. So that's the most valuable thing I think about movies or television, is that it brings people together in a very honest way. And that's why people crave television and films, because we're all a part of that fabric together.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And Elizabeth, I have this question, and I ask this question to every single, actor and actress, because everyone have their specific way to just work on this. But when you go into character, because you go to the set, you're preparing your bus and your trailer, and when you go to the set, you go and perform. How do you switch from being Elizabeth to Ivy, and then staying Ivy for many, many hours to then get out of the set and become Elizabeth again? Do you see any specific strategy that you go through?
A lot of people have their ways. There's method actors who will, remain in character for the entirety of the time that they're shooting, which I find fascinating, very interesting. I don't even know if I can put it into words. I would say that there's a calm that comes over me probably 5 to 10 minutes prior to where I prefer to just kind of be alone or to start focusing in. I don't know if you can necessarily say it's like this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde switch, because there are things that I bring about Elizabeth into the character Ivy as well, into every character that I've ever played. It's parts of myself. I almost feel like that I have that I'm creating into a full character. So it's not like I do like a full transformation. I do try to get in the zone. I try to focus. I try to remember why I'm there and who I am being and the story. But for me, it's always been important to bring elements of myself into the character as well. So it's hard to explain. I guess everybody's got their own process.
Sure.
A lot of it's just in your head, but I think it's for me, it's invaluable to stay grounded, and to bring parts of who you are or what you know,
yeah,
to the character, and that's what makes that character real.
And that's what makes the character authentic, and you bring in your own touch. So that's extremely cool. I have this question too about Elizabeth, and with the role of Ivy, because it was very personal to you, and had a lot of elements of who you are. If you had the opportunity to go back to your past and talk to Elizabeth, maybe when she was starting the career as an actress, or maybe when she was on those 2 years, maybe in those tough days, and you had the opportunity to talk to that Elizabeth, what advice you will have give her, or what you will have changed in that process, or maybe in that moment that maybe was crucial for you? But what advice you will give to that Elizabeth maybe 2, 3, or 4 or 5 years ago?
Oh man, I guess something that's always stifled me is the fear of failure, and because I'm afraid to fail, I'll just avoid it altogether. And I think a lot of people do that. And that was, I spent a lot of time when I first moved out here. I was like, oh my God, I'm really out here now. And I really now have to do the thing that I've been talking about doing for like 20 years of my life, you know? And then there would be times where I would just choose not to do it, because if I did do it and I failed, that meant I failed. But if I didn't do it at all, then it's just, if somehow you avoid failing, if you just don't do it at all. So I would say, you know, I hate using the term wasted time, but there was a lot of time that I let slip by, that I probably could have accomplished some more things because I was afraid to fail. So the fear of failure can be really toxic and it's overwhelming. And I think pretty much all of us out there probably has that. I envy those people who can just put themselves out there and completely be unafraid to fail. But I would tell myself that not doing it at all is a lot worse than failing. Failing is better.
No, I can't imagine. You know, I can imagine just like having a dream and not being able to go and do it. You have to be, you're destroying yourself, like, because
I'm my own worst enemy.
Yes, because, and it happens to me. It's like, do I do it? And I don't do it. And we ask always that question. And I always think about this and I always say to myself, it's like, I don't want to be average. Like average for me is just like, no.
Course, 100%. Who wants to be average?
Yes, like we're special. So, you know, I just want to exceed and be able to just tell to an example, my kids, my wife, and everyone, hey, you know, I was able to just fight through it and prove to myself that I can do it.
Right. And how good does that feel when you finally actually do it? Yeah. You know, we torture ourselves by not doing it because we think avoidance is better, but once you actually do it and you accomplish something and you're proud of it, it's the best feeling in the world.
No, it's a great feeling in everything. And it have to happen to you when you saw yourself on this great project, Dreamcatcher. And we're talking with Elizabeth Posey, who is just joining in now. A tremendous actress in Dreamcatcher. She portrays Ivy in a tremendous role. In this movie, Elizabeth, like when you saw yourself in the finished product, what were those feelings that you feel? Like, do your feelings were like, wow, that's me? I know that it gotta happen. You know, a wonderful woman like yourself, a great actress with that mentality and that focus, like laser focused mentality from your entire life, being part of a Samuel Goldwyn movie, you know, in a movie that typically Samuel Goldwyn will never take on because they don't do thriller movies. They decide to just jump in Dreamcatcher, and it's extremely awesome because I'm like, it have to be super cool, like to see yourself and you're like, wow, I'm in a Samuel Goldwyn movie. And I came from Shrewsbury, New Jersey. Then I went to Jacksonville and I make it here, and I'm in a Mayer movie, and I'm able to say that I'm making progress. Those things happen to you? Hey, and this is live for everyone, you know. So this is live to tape. So trust me. Yeah. Hey, no worries. Hey, this is what I say. We're human beings. Things happen. I don't care. You know, it's super cool. And this is what I say. It's like this is the best way. It's a natural conversation. So it's very cool. It have to just hit those butterflies to you when you saw yourself in that big screen. I guarantee it.
You know, I hate watching myself. So I was really nervous. This was the first time, you know, I've watched myself in things and they're usually shorter clips. This was going to be like an hour and a half of me. And I really had to gear myself up for it because I was like, I don't know if I'm prepared to do this. And, you know, there were moments where it was hard for me to watch it, but it, like you said, it really was an incredible moment because this is something that I had been dreaming about for so long. I mean, I'm talking since I was like 5 years old. I've been dreaming of watching myself on the big screen. So it was torture and incredible at the same time. And I was really proud of the film. I wasn't sure if I was going to feel good about my performance or not. I mean, I've never watched myself for an hour and a half straight. So I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. And I wasn't sure if I was going to think I was good after I walked away from it, you know? So it felt good. It felt great.
That's awesome.
It was hard. It was just hard at moments, but for the most part, it was a dream coming to fruition for the first time. And I walked away from it feeling better than I ever thought I would.
It'd have to be a reaffirmation of what you always have wanted. And not only that, but like, I know that you actors and actresses tend to just say like, that wasn't my best performance yet.
Right.
Yeah, because you're always are striving for that role, that performance that really can elevate yourself and challenge you. And it might take years and years. It will take your entire life, because I know that how you are, Elizabeth, and how driven you are and how laser focused you are in just growing and impacting the industry and be able to just, you know, make your dream come true. Maybe we'll find out what is your best role and best performance. But for you, you said, I can do better. Do you tend to always push yourself to those levels that you say, like, I did a great performance, but it wasn't my best, in order for you to keep proving to yourself that you can do it and have that career that you want?
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you're not constantly improving, there's always room for improvement. I don't know if I've ever watched myself and been like, okay, that was great, and I wouldn't change anything. I don't think I've ever felt that way. I would imagine that a lot of tortured artists are the exact same way. I mean, of course, you know, you should be proud of yourself and give yourself a pat on the back, but there's always room to improve. And, you know, we're all sadist actors. I mean, we never stop torturing ourselves about wanting to have been better or done better or whatever. But yeah, I mean, are you an actor if you don't hate your performance every time? I think that's just like a key personality trait for people who are artists, is to, like, you know, hate on themselves a little bit. Really, I felt very confident about a lot of the things that I did in Dreamcatcher, and I felt like there were a lot of things.
They were awesome. I liked it. I loved the role. I don't think that there's not one role in that movie that I didn't like. It was so cool because it just gave you in the edge of the seat. Like, and this is what I can say to the audience: the finish is not what you think. That's what I was saying.
It's not even what I thought.
I was like, I know who did it. And then after that, I was like, wow, I really wasn't expecting this. And that's the good thing too, you know? So it's an amazing movie. What you're doing these days, obviously in LA now, Dreamcatcher is out worldwide. That's a big accomplishment for you, because being in such a great role, but being now worldwide is super cool. Then you have taken on some other, you know, projects, like you mentioned, you know, earlier in the interview, Heels, and in the dialogue that we have, Heels, and then you did Trevor the Virgin. That started in shorts, and now it's a TV series. That is wonderful too. Yeah. That's how life it is. You take on a role, and then you roll for the second, and then imagine that, guys, by just, you know, staying, you know, loyal to a role. Look where he landed you, you know, in the TV series, and then you did Cinema Rebel and many other projects. But, you know, what are you doing now? I know that you're in LA. I know that your family may be still in Florida. It was tough for the, you know, few months last year. Do I go and see them or not? Florida, I think that it's been the only state that is being open. There's no COVID down there, but it's crazy. I just say it because there's no COVID down there. And you know, in so many ways, because there's been no lockdowns. And what is crazy, I saw the numbers, I was like, this is incredible. But I was pro lockdowns, and then after like that I was like, mental health really is gonna hit in. And I was like, oh my God, how people is gonna deal with that. But I know your family's still in Florida and you're in LA. Yes. What have you been doing, you know, in this time? You're being able to see your family in Florida, or they have fly in to see you, or you're still missing them? You know, what you're currently doing, and do you, or being able to just at least spend time with family, because those are your biggest supporters. I can't imagine your parents watching Dreamcatcher, that have to be so emotional for them, and it will be such a great feeling just to even record them like unknown and say it's like, wow, look, our daughter, like she made it. Like it had to be an awesome, maybe feeling, or it will be amazing footage if it exists, to see your parents like see you in a role like that. But what have you been doing lately? In this past few weeks, past few months? Yeah,
past few months. I was in Atlanta.
Awesome.
Shooting, actually. And then prior to that, I actually did spend a lot of time in Florida with my family.
Awesome. I love Florida.
Florida's fantastic. It literally was like...
It's like I love Florida. It's like
I remember going there and I would go out in public, and being in LA for the majority of the pandemic, I was astonished. I was almost just struck because I had been so locked up here. It was a little, almost shock factor at first when I went there. It
happened to me too. I was like, I went to Florida and I'm like, my wife was like, do COVID exist over here? Like, why we're just so in shock? Like, I feel that I'm living in a paranoia state, and I'm like, well, yeah, we were locked down here too, and it's crazy because just crazy. I saw the numbers, and it was like for 100,000, unfortunately, cases of COVID, 147 people passed away in Florida. Like in the United States, for 100,000, we're like 400. I was like, what just happened? I'm like, so we should have stayed open. We should have stayed open.
I know. It's what's interesting is I actually got COVID when I was in Florida.
Me
so
too.
It definitely is there.
Yeah, me too. I got COVID too. And thankfully, we both are, healthy, and my family as well, and your family too. But it's just crazy. But it's good that it had to be cool because you went to Atlanta to shoot, and Atlanta is not far driving distance to Jacksonville, maybe a few hours. And then you get close to Savannah, Georgia, that little cute town in Georgia. And then you go to Jacksonville with that beautiful scene of downtown that I love. Oh my God. It's great. That's hometown. That's home for you. So
that's home for me. I was born in New Jersey, but I lived in Jacksonville, Florida from the time I was 5 on. So that's home for me. And my parents are still in the house that I grew up in. So it's a real safe place when I go there. It feels pretty great.
It's good, yeah.
I love to go back. And I love that my parents are still there. And the one thing that COVID, which strangely enough, it gave me the opportunity to spend more time with family. Because I was shooting in Atlanta, I actually have a sister that lives in Atlanta. And so I stayed with her when I was there. And then I went to Florida and ended up getting stuck there and got to spend a lot of unprecedented time with my family. So I feel very grateful for that because I know this year has been the opposite for a lot of people. I guess my circumstances allowed me to do so. And that's been really special. So I feel lucky that was my experience versus what a lot of people went through this year. It's been a really hard year for a lot of people. A lot of friends of mine are really struggling. So I hope we're coming out of it.
Oh, yes. I got my 2 shots already, and it's definitely, it's I hope that we definitely, I think they were saying that, it might be sometime I think that we're just like a few months down. I'm like, people cannot just stay, inside because mental health is so important, and in these days, it's just, crazy. Do you ever have figured out or maybe think about, Elizabeth, about keeping that place in LA, moving to Florida, or be between those both places? Because sometimes there's so much filming in the East Coast. I'm like, Atlanta is a big place, in PA, in Pittsburgh, in New York, and I'm like, that commute from Jacksonville to New York or the up north and all that stuff, it's just super close from just doing that 6-hour flight from LA to go to shooting. Do you have thought about that? Because I know that it's going to get a point in your career because you're growing so fast and, doing tremendous roles. that at some point, I remember talking to, Terrence Howard, a couple of years ago, and talking.
I movie with Terrence Howard.
Yeah, and I remember talking to him, and he's like, "Well, I live in Philadelphia." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "I thought that you were living in LA," and he's like, "Well, it gets to a point where you can establish yourself, where you can live anywhere. Like Michael Keaton lives in Montana. It's just crazy."
Absolutely, I think about it often, especially with how expensive it is to live in Los Angeles. And like Terrence said, when you become so established, somebody like Terrence Howard, who's deeply established, you do have the luxury of saying, hey, I mean, people are probably going to more come to me than me having to go to an audition in LA. When you're more well-known, but what's interesting now is people don't go into casting offices.
I was going to say that virtual cast. Yeah.
And I wonder, I'm curious to see if we ever, eventually I think once you get to like the point of chemistry reads and you get closer to maybe getting hired for the role, but I don't think first round auditions are ever going to go into like a casting room ever again. So there is that aspect as well where, hey, I send everything virtually. So I don't think the demand to live in Los Angeles is what it once used to be. And I'm interested to see how that progresses once the state starts opening up a little bit more. If it goes back to that, I don't know if it will. It's a lot easier for casting directors to just receive self-tapes than to have so many people filing into their office. It's safer in the world that we live in now. And I don't know. My rent is disgusting. So I would love, I love the idea of, but I also love Los Angeles. So I don't know. That is a thought I grapple with a lot, especially now that you can really do a lot of things remote. So maybe in the future, we'll see.
I was going to say, you may be going to like live, in LA and you have your apartment there. And then when time comes, you will say, you know what? I'm buying a property in Florida. So in that way I can get away, because it's just, I just saw it. I was like, my God, like The Rock dumped $20.8 million for a mansion in Beverly Hills, like $27.8 million. I'm like, that's crazy. Like the amount of money and how much you gotta like, to buy an apartment or anything. It's like, wow, it's just staggering. I was there last year and, LA have that aura, it's interesting because there's an aura, a mystique about the whole city and the whole industry and entertainment industry, music and all that stuff. But I was like, wow, this is just wild. Like, when I look at the real estate listing, I was like, I will have to live. I'm living under the bridge.
I was recently, got the bug to start looking to buy a house. Sure. I just started feeling I want a house. I want my own property. I want a backyard. And I was looking at what I would have to put down to buy a house here. And then I looked at what I could get in Jacksonville, Florida. And I was like, I can't even look at this anymore. This is amazing. To get like a 1-bedroom, 2-bath with like a chain link fence around it in the middle of nowhere here is the same. You get the same thing
for four bedrooms and 2 baths.
In Florida on 2 acres of land on the water with, 6 bedrooms and 5 baths. It's sickening. It's bad, but I guess, we all try to live in LA for a reason. Sure. There is that draw.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
What I can say is like save, invest, be strategic. I say to people always, and I talk about this all the time. It's like I've been, very blessed, to be a partner in the company that I work for, to be able just to, work in the business and, have such a great platform and everything. But people save and invest, save and invest, because when that time comes, you want to buy your house and put a down payment, and there's, you got to build credit. So, I know that you're close and But it's just, I understand. Trust me, having that own place that you can say, okay, I can paint the walls, I can put a window if I want to, or I can put any portraits. I can put this at my own taste. I know that anyone needs that at some point in their life. So,
walk around naked in my backyard. I mean, that's really
why
the
not?
main
Yeah,
reason.
correct. Yeah, why not? Wait, sunny California or Florida? Like the sun is, hey, the Sunshine State, and yes, correct. So that's one of the things that, with the real estate in LA, and I wish you the good luck, because it's just crazy. Yeah, it's just crazy.
I'll see it.
No, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool when you get your place. You're gonna post it, and it's gonna be. You're gonna feel so great because it happened to me. I was very conservative. I was like, do I gonna want to get in a place? So my process was super cool because my wife comes to me in 2016 and said, we're gonna buy a house, and I said, what? and I said,
You're
well,
like, yeah, okay.
And he's like, we're gonna be moving to this area. This is the house. It's gonna be a pre-foreclosure, and we're gonna try to just get it. And I'm like, okay, I don't know nothing about the process, but let's make it happen.
Right.
After I get into the house, and when I got that keys, something just your brain is gonna change, and you're
right. Yeah.
like, I'm progressing. And sometimes you just take that leap of faith, like you did. When you moved from Jacksonville to LA, and now you're in a very solid and growing position, that's gonna help you tremendously become more. I say you're gonna find so much fulfillment.
Right.
And it's gonna be such a cool experience. So when you get that experience, just remember this dialogue because it's gonna be super awesome. You're gonna say like, wow, like. That's extremely cool. What Elizabeth Posey, and this is just closing like now, this amazing dialogue that we have with Elizabeth, it's been wonderful. One of my favorites, and I say it live. This is very rare for me to say it, but it's been such a cool dialogue with you. What are you doing?
Been incredibly easy to talk to, so you're a part of that too. This has been a good idea.
Super. And I appreciate those words. What do you do, like in your free time? Like I know you said music. So you have to be a music enthusiast. Like, what do you do, like, as a hobby, when you're like, I'm in my house, there's no scripts that I got to read. What do you do in your, free time to keep that, strength and keep that, peace that is very important, for any human being, and channel through those crazy days that you live on set? What do you do on those days?
I love to write. I've been doing a little bit more writing, especially like throughout the pandemic. And it was something that I hadn't done in a really long time. And I like refound the joy that I used to take in writing and creative writing. And I'm trying to write a screenplay. So we'll see how that goes.
you gotta feel proud about doing it because you're going to do a short and then you're going to do a full screen. That's what's going to happen. Trust me. That's let me do a short of maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'll make a short first.
Yes.
It's fun. I think you got to have to allow yourself to not let it try to be perfect at it because
correct.
I have no real idea of what I'm doing, but it's been fun and I feel proud of it. And hopefully it's something I continue doing. And I also love to make music. My boyfriend produces music, so we make some music together.
That's cool.
I don't know really anything about the production side of it, but I've been singing since I was very young, and writing lyrics is something that I love to do. So, and then honestly, just being a lazy bum is part of my activities. It's hard to find a balance. I try to find the balance of working on things and creating, and then also just enjoying yourself and enjoying time in your home and your environment, and getting a little bit of both, I think is important.
No,
you don't have to always be working on the next thing. You want to be, and I think it's great to strive for that, but also just taking time for yourself and enjoying yourself.
No, definitely. Since you like music so much, and you did theater in college, and you act tremendously on screen, do you have thought about, maybe this is maybe something in your bucket list, do you have thought about eventually doing theater, maybe Broadway, maybe, musicals, because you love music, you love theater. You did that in college. You love movies. You love what you do. But I see that eventually that's the next step, like to be able to have a run, in a great musical in Broadway. Is coming back, I think in July they're going to open, in New York. But
Right.
that had to be a bucket list for you. You're like, oh, I want to do Broadway at least once in my life.
No, that was when I was first deciding, when I was graduating from college, and I was like, okay, I'm going to either move to LA or New York, and I'm either going to pursue, a career on stage or a career on television and film. And at that point, I was far more familiar with stage performance than television and film. And I kind of just made this choice. I took an acting for the camera class in college, and I really kind of started to fall in love with being behind the camera and the style of acting that goes into that versus being on stage. But I miss it a lot. And it's funny. Right before the pandemic hit, I auditioned for a stage show, a musical that they were doing in LA. And I was so rusty. Like my projection was way off because, vocally you have to really use your diaphragm and project when you're speaking, and the way that you open your body when you're on stage. It's a totally different thing. And I was very out of practice. So that was kind of sad because I had to laugh at myself a little bit. I was like, I clearly have kind of lost my way with this, but I would love to step back into it and to do it for fun. And like a lot of actors who make a career in television and film, who are initially trained actors theatrically, that's when you do get the luxury to kind of step back into it. I think when you're first trying to make it in the industry, you're really trying to hit the ground running with television and film. There's not a whole lot of time to say, hey, I'm going to go do a musical theater show at this, local theater here. It's just tough to fit that in. You kind of make one choice or the other. That's not necessarily true, but I did for myself. I said, I'm going to focus on television and film. And then hopefully somewhere down the line, I can go back into that world because I loved it. But I kind of made a choice and I've stuck with that choice for now. But if I can do that in the future, that would be really beautiful if I could.
It's going to happen eventually.
So.
You want to focus now on movies, TV, and many other, projects that you have. But I know that eventually it's going to come, and it takes, theater is tough because you got to project, like you said, projection. You want to be able to perform, like the moves in, on the stage, the interaction with the other actors. It's just so many elements. Plus you have live music too. Then if it's a musical, you have to be on tone. It's just wild.
Very time consuming too, to be on a show that's being put on stage is incredibly time consuming, and it's super rewarding. But hey, you know what? There's people out there who can do it all and they can make time for it.
I think movies are good because like you can record and have a break, and then you can record and then just have a break and give you some balance. That really, like, theater is so work heavy, and it's like you are in a schedule like 7 days a week, and when you're like, that's crazy. Like imagine performing Monday through Sunday and just having maybe one day off. That voice, that throat, they have to just like at least heal, and it's crazy.
It's a totally different world, and people compare them a lot, but it really has its own struggles and perks. Great stuff, hard stuff. I would love to step back into it at some point, but I think right now I'm kind of more laser focused on pursuing television and film, and if I can step back into that at some point in the future, then I will. But we'll see.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Last two questions that I really had. I gotta ask you this quick question. What do you wish that you had in your life that you had in your life that you still haven't accomplished? Is something that you really still want that you said, I still missing this goal that I have? What is that goal, or what is that wish that you're still missing that you're working towards to?
I want to be cast in a comedy. That's my dream.
That's cool.
That's my dream. That's always been my dream. And I've had the opportunity to do things comedically related, but if I could be consistently a regular in a show or a film that's comedically based and make a career out of that, that's the moon and the stars for me. So You know, I have some opportunity here and there, and hopefully when the world kind of starts opening back up, I'm going to be doing Groundlings out here. I don't know if you're familiar with Groundlings.
Of course, the Groundlings are a legendary comedy, you know, like what I could call, like, you know, it's a comedy group. It's like you got the Tenderloins in New York. That's Sal Vulcano and all those great guys, you know, that just have in New York, that you have the Groundlings. You know, the Groundlings are like legendary for a lot of people. And if people don't know about who the Groundlings are, it's really wonderful what those guys have done. And, you know, the whole entire, like, you know, group of sketch comedy, like that type of sketch comedy, and it's improvisation, you know, all the time. It's just crazy, you know, and the entire like cast that, you know, has been notable for the Groundlings is just crazy. Like Cecilia Adams, J.D. Abrams, you know, Bob Flanagan, you know, Tyra Banks, Adam Carolla. I'm just mentioning a few names over there. It's just wild, So it's gonna be awesome for you.
It would be great, and I want to sharpen that tool. My comedic skills and be surrounded by people who are also putting themselves out there, because I don't get a lot of comedic auditions. I don't know if a lot of people even see me that way or know that that's my wheelhouse. So I need to start placing myself in that environment and say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to take my career. And hopefully something will develop in that aspect. That's the dream.
I know that it's going to be a comedy maybe in like a few months to a year, but it's going to happen. I'm positive because you can do all roles that they're putting in front of you with passion. And that's really what sets you apart and sets apart any single actor or actress or performance artist or whoever, you know, in the real world, you know, working your normal job or working any specific career or industry. You know, if you have passion in what you do, you're going to exceed on that. So it's going to be very cool to see you in you know, in a comedy role, and I look forward to see you in that role. Elizabeth, as you know, as last question, you know, comments on this amazing historic dialogue that I have with Elizabeth about Dreamcatcher, her wonderful career and many things. What message you would like to give to the world if you have the opportunity to have like one microphone now and people that are listening to you? What message you would like to give them if you have just 1 minute? What will be that message?
Okay. There's so many things. I'm trying to think of the most valuable thing. If you can do what you love. I know that not everybody has the luxury of doing that. And I am so beyond grateful that not only the people around me have allowed me to do what I love, but that I've been able to continue pursuing something that makes me happy every time I'm doing it. And so I think it's easy to say, do what you love. Not everybody has the luxury. People have to take jobs. People have to make money. It's not always that easy. Even if it's a hobby, do something that makes you happy every day, because the world is a really hard place to live. And if you can find joy in at least something every day, I think that's really valuable, especially after a year of us all kind of having those things taken away from us. I think we all kind of realized how desperately we need those things. I mean, mental health has been such a struggle in our world now. And I think people are finally realizing, you know, the rat race doesn't always have to be so hard, and that we have to slow things down and find the things that we're passionate about. So live with passion, I guess.
Live with passion. I think that is wonderful.
Also live with passion, and also know it's okay to have bad days. I think that's important too. I think a lot think that you know, every day you have to be soaring and excelling and that you have to be happy and walk around with a smile on your face, and you don't have to. And that's part of the journey. No,
definitely. Live with passion and learn from those bad days, because from those bad days, good things come out. You got to look things with optimism, and you have said it, you know, extremely great. So wonderful words from you, Elizabeth. It's been such a freaking awesome episode and honor to have you in the podcast. I cannot say it enough, and I hope that I can have you back here this is your house anytime. When you have projects, come here. We'll talk more, and we'll talk about your career and where you're at and all that, because I know people, they will be extremely, excited to hear you and see how where life have take you, and where your career is going. Is going to be a wonderful place where you're going to be, and it's extremely awesome to see you grow. And this is your house anytime. And I want to wish to everyone to please go to Instagram and follow you at Elizabeth Posey 3, and that's Elizabeth Posey 3, and follow Elizabeth and see all the amazing stuff that she's doing. There's a trailer of Dreamcatcher as well in one of her latest posts. So go there, follow her, and support her work. This is your house anytime, Elizabeth. And it's been such a wonderful, wonderful dialogue to have with you. And you're going to have a lot of success. I am very positive about that.
Well, thank you so much for having me here and asking me such thoughtful, insightful questions. Because, you do a lot of these interviews, and it's nice to talk to somebody who's, I think, shares as much passion as I do, and has a lot of deep thoughts, deep thinking. It's refreshing. And cool. It was refreshing to be here today.
It's awesome. It's been rejuvenating. I have learned a lot from you, and what is awesome, I'm gonna say, the highlight of this is you got passion, you have a drive, and don't let anyone stop that drive and passion that you have, because there's a lot of beautiful things and positive things in the horizon for you. And I cannot thank you enough for taking the time, to speak with me. And everyone, please follow again Elizabeth Posey 3 on Instagram, and go and watch Dreamcatcher on video on demand, or any of the platforms where Dreamcatcher is. Wonderful movie with a such cast: Nikki Cox, Zachary Gordon, Lou Ferrigno Jr., Jacob Johnston as the director, and the amazing Elizabeth Posey that we had today in the podcast. And again, follow us in all social media platforms at the Luis Otero or Dialogo con Otero, or more than 27 platforms worldwide. And I'll see you guys next time in Dialogo with Luis Otero.